national correspondent Bryan Llenas following the race from Philadelphia today. Hi, Bryan.
Hi, Martha. Well, while Dr. Mehmet Oz is relishing his performance of the debate, even reposting the entire debate on his campaign's website, Democrats and John Fetterman are trying to change the subject back to abortion, releasing a new ad attacking Dr. Oz on the issue. Meanwhile, Fetterman last night addressed his tough debate performance as he continues to suffer from a stroke that he had in May.
To be honest, doing that debate wasn't exactly easy. I may not get every word the right way, but I will always do the right thing in Washington, D.C. I have a lot of good days, and every now and then I'll have a bad day.
After Tuesday's debate, Democrats released an ad of former President Obama rallying people to vote Democrat up and down the ballot. The White House has not said if President Biden saw the debate, but defended Fetterman nonetheless.
The president has found him to be impressive, incredibly bright and talented person who's just as capable as always to carry out his office, the duties of his office.
Some Republicans, however, are openly making the case that Fetterman's performance Tuesday night was disqualifying, as a New York Post editorial board puts it, proof of a, quote, cover-up to hide his, quote, unfitness for office. Here's Dr. Oz last night on Hannity.
They know he can't perform because he can't answer these questions about his eccentric positions, but they want to give him the money to get him to win anyway.
And breaking right now, Martha, Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, was caught apparently on a hot mic speaking to the president in Syracuse today, saying, quote, the debate didn't hurt us too much, but he then tells the president, we're in danger in this. Martha?
Well, that's interesting. Bryan, thank you very much. Bryan Llenas joining us from Philadelphia. With that, let's bring in Guy Benson, host of the Guy Benson radio show, political editor for townhall.com, and a Fox News contributor. Great to see you, Guy. Thank you,
hey, Martha,
for being here. Let me get your reaction to that first. A hot mic incident that was just reported by Bryan Llenas, where Chuck Schumer said the debate didn't hurt us too much, but that he clearly has concerns about where they're going here.
Yeah, I just saw the clip on my phone before we went live in this segment. And first of all, Chuck Schumer knows his way around a camera. He's standing there as the Senate Majority Leader with the President of the United States. I think he was probably aware that there was a camera there. He's debriefing the President on a few things, and he said that the debate in Pennsylvania hasn't hurt us too much as of today, and then also talked about the dangers. So I think there are some qualifiers in there, even as he's putting on perhaps a brave face. Look, I think it's entirely possible that despite what we all saw this week in that debate, Fetterman could win in a blue-tinted purple state, but Oz was gaining on him over the last month plus. I think the polling in Pennsylvania for a number of cycles has been, frankly, garbage, so I haven't really trusted a lot of the polling. It is a nice edge race. It's a toss-up for a reason. And if your group that you interviewed yesterday on your show is any indication, some of those undecided independent voters might be breaking Oz's direction late. We'll know soon.
We have that hot mic moment because we talked about it. I want to share it with everybody at home who might not have it in front of them. Let's play that.
That scene, we're in danger of that scene. Well, it looks like the debate didn't hurt us too much in Pennsylvania as of today, so that's good. And basically, we're picking up steam on that.
A little hard to hear, but we told you what he said. He said that the debate didn't hurt us too much and that there are some danger signs to come as he talked to the president after the president landed in Syracuse. And the president is there just for a brief time, and he is there to support Francis Knoll in the Syracuse district that is John Katko's seat. We just talked to Brandon Williams. You know, when you look at the tea leaves, Guy, of where this is, and it's just interesting to watch Senator Schumer's face. He's the majority leader in the Senate, and that's a position that he may be in danger of losing in a matter of days.
That's right. And if you look where they're sending President Biden, he's going to New Mexico. You know, that's a pretty blue state, but the governor there is in some real trouble, I think, has an opportunity perhaps to lose that race. They're deploying Biden to that blue state to try to help there. And then also just announced in the last couple of hours, at least when I saw it, that the president is going back to Pennsylvania along with the vice president for John Fetterman. Now, you can read that any number of different ways. They're sending both of them. It's rare for them to be together on the campaign trail on behalf of a candidate. Obviously, the Democrats feel like they need to flood the zone, do everything they can for Fetterman. But the president and vice president aren't exactly super popular in the state of Pennsylvania. Is that particular cavalry coming for Fetterman helpful? Another open question.
I mean, Fetterman's one of the few Democrat candidates that I've heard say he's happy to have the president by his side. So it may be partly that this is a place that he's welcome on the campaign trail, because he's getting a lot of heat for basically, conducting another basement equivalent campaign period. So we'll see what happens. Thank you very much, Guy. Always good to see you.
Thanks, Martha.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.